morning.
Good morning. I'm Shelley Full. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of the President's Council, and we will now call the meeting to order. Hannah Torkelson, a team member with the Council, will conduct the roll call.
When I call your name, please indicate for the record that you are present. Dan Barber. Dan is joining us via phone this morning. Thanks for joining us, Dan. Drew Breeze. Absent. Caitlin Cahow.
Present.
Jason Collins.
Present.
Misty Copeland. Absent. Dominique Dawes is absent as well today. Allison Felix.
Present.
Jane Greenberg.
Present.
Mark Hertling.
Present.
Grant Hill. Absent. Billie Jean King. Absent. Michelle Kwan.
Present.
Dr. Risa Lavizio-Maroy. Absent. Cornell McClellan.
Present.
Dr. Stephen McDonough.
Present.
Alonzo Morning. Chris Paul. Absent. Curtis Pride. Absent. Rachel Ray. Absent. Donna Richardson.
Present.
Anthony Robles.
Present.
Rob Shepherdson.
Present.
Dr. Ian Smith. Absent. Total council members present, 14. Total council members absent, 9.
Thank you, Hannah. And I think everybody's gotten your microphones down now. If it's red, that means you're live, and you don't need to keep it held down. You can let it go while you're speaking, but then click it off when you are not. So again, welcome to our council members. I wanted to share that unfortunately at last minute, our co-chairs were not able to be here. That's why I'm chairing the meeting, so you got me today as the chair, but our two co-chairs both send their best wishes to the council, and we'll be following up with them and they with all of you post-meeting. And we, of course, have a couple other members that weren't able to be with us. I know Billie Jean got a big award last night in New York. Dan is getting a big award out in Chicago. So we have a lot of very ambitious folks on the council, and rightly so. And they're busy getting accolades and awards and doing their business, including Chris Paul, who is still in the playoffs with his team. So I know all of us are wishing them well and are hearing from them. I know many of them have been on social media sharing their best wishes for the meeting. So we'll continue to follow up with them, and I'm sure assignments will be given accordingly for those that aren't here, right? Exactly. So we will do that. And Alonzo, thank you for joining us by phone. He's going to stay with us as long as he can. And I think Dan Barber and Dr. Ian are going to try to call in just a little bit later from their early morning activities here. So I'm going to do my best to fill in. It's no accident that I have Mark and Caitlin to my left and to my right, because they're going to make sure I do this right? Not like having the 3-star general sitting to your left, right?
And Jane.
And then I got Jace. I mean, yeah, they're the backups. So no accident that we've got these folks flanking. Throughout the day, our council members will have an opportunity really to reflect on our accomplishments. I just want to remind the folks, and by the way, hello to all the folks that are out there on the live stream. We're so happy you've joined us today. We've got a great group here in the Great Hall at the Department of Health and Human Services. Some of those folks we'll be hearing and seeing today. We've got our Lifetime Achievement winners. We've got some great youth ambassadors here that we're going to hear from in a panel very shortly, and great partners. I see many familiar faces out here, so thank you one and all for coming, for your continued support of the council. We could not do our mission without you, and it's so great to have partners that are lifting up this collective mission. So thank you all. That said, I wanted to just let everybody know that the purpose of this meeting is really for the council members to deliberate, to discuss, to talk about the present and the future. And as such, we will not be hearing from the audience, but we take your comments, your suggestions very seriously. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please contact us after the meeting. Please send us an email to fitness@hhs.gov. That's fitness@hhs.gov. Please send us there. Please give a call to our office. You can find that on our website, those numbers, at fitness.gov, and we would love to hear from you. Yesterday, the council members and we rolled up our sleeves in some small group meetings. We had an administrative session and some small group meetings to discuss some topics that you'll hear more about today. So now they'll be deliberating as a full group and talking about where we want to go in the area of inclusion, in youth sports, and in active aging. You'll also hear some about our legacy programs like our Presidential Youth Fitness Program, our President's Challenge, our I Can Do It program, and so forth. One of the things we did yesterday is really talked about the gaps and the potential solutions. We also ventured out into the community. We did 3 community events yesterday, 3 community events. We were at a Special Olympics event where some of our folks tried out their soccer skills on the course, right, Caitlin? And Anthony and others, Jane, I think you were there at that one. And so that was a great time and a wonderful opportunity for us to get to know our Special Olympic athletes who did an inclusive event here in Washington, D.C. We also had a group go to the opening of the D.C. Senior Games. And I think we have some Senior Games folks here with us today. If you're from Senior Games, are you with us yet this morning? I think we'll have some folks here a little bit later. But DC Senior Games, we went to the opening ceremonies, and who went to that? Donna? Yeah, good time, right? Awesome, inspirational, right? Excellent. And we'll hear more about that later. And then finally, in the afternoon, we went to a Boys and Girls Club up in Northeast DC and had an awesome time with a whole group of kids in an after-school program, again, at a Boys and Girls Club here, and we had an awesome time. It was great. It was very loud. Very loud, very enthusiastic. So again, thanks. And we always try to do that community event to make sure we're staying in touch with what's going on out there in the community. So we'll touch more on these topics throughout the day, but I now want to introduce our first presenter, and I'd like to invite Carly Harmon, an NFL Together We Make Football finalist and the Always Like a Girl ambassador, to come to the stage. Carly has joined us today to share her perspective on the importance of leading a healthy lifestyle. She will be joined by peers on a youth panel later this morning. But first, Carly is here to help us introduce a very special guest. As she comes to the podium, I'd like to also share a video about Carly.
My mom always said I was born with sneakers on my feet. I started off with soccer and basketball. And then as I got older, I just loved the game of football.
There always be a football around, and it was like a magnet to her. She'd be launching the football.
And the dads would always be going, "Did you see her arm? You see the arm on this kid?"
People were saying, wow, she's really good. She should, play football. But we kind of shrugged it off like, yeah, right, girl in football. I was reading the newspaper one day, and they were doing this NFL punt, pass, and kick. I presented it to Carly, and I said, maybe this is something you need to do.
I placed first. The night I came home from punt, pass, and kick, I told my parents that I really love football and that I really want to try out.
She wrote me a 2-page letter, and it really hit home to me.
At tryouts, people had told me, you really need to go over and watch this young lady. And I was really impressed with her arm and her whole attitude. So I went to the other coach and I said, look, I don't care who you take. I just want her.
We always said if we didn't think Carly could handle it, she wouldn't be doing it.
The first time she got hit and popped back up, they were all just kind of like, okay, we got us a football player.
Carly loves the contact. She likes to show everyone she can do it.
She shows us that she can put her mind to something and just conquer it.
Player of the Year is Carly Harmon.
There's two sides to Carly. There's the football player, and then there's this person that really inspired a lot of people last year.
She was in a Wounded Warrior football game halftime show.
Me and my mom were thinking of a way to help them. So I actually started my own business. It's called Cardio by Carly.
So I guess we'll do a special on the sweatshirts.
And half of every portion of my sales goes to Vet Sports Foundation.
What she has done as far as helping vets is just unbelievable. To me, that's more impressive than her football.
Having Carly play football has brought so many things to light.
Football's always been known as a male-dominant sport. Hold on, I need some blocking. Let's go, Carly. And all of a sudden, you get a young lady like Carly that comes out and shows, no, it's not.
In her mind, she's like, well, let me go out there and show that a girl can do it too.
I had to prove that girls can play football.
I love a tough girl. Love a tough
It's not about your size or your gender. It's really about your heart. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I will be introducing the Surgeon General. Vice Admiral Vivek H. Murthy, MD, MBA, was nominated by President Barack Obama in November 2013 and confirmed on December 15, 2014, as the 9th United States Surgeon General. As America's doctor, Dr. Murthy is responsible for communicating the best available scientific information to the public regarding ways to improve personal health and the health of our nation. He also oversees the operations of the United States Public Health Services. Commission Corps, comprised of approximately 6,800 uniformed health officers who served in locations around the world to promote, protect, and advance in the health and safety of our nation. Dr. Murthy has devoted himself to improving public health through the lens of service, clinical care, research, education, and entrepreneurship. The son of immigrants from India, Dr. Murthy discovered a love for the art of healing early in his childhood while spending time in his father's medical clinic in Miami, Florida. After attending Miami Palmetto Senior High School, he received his bachelor's degree from Harvard and his MD and MBA degrees from Yale. He completed his residency training in Brigham and Women's Hospital and instructor. Dr. Murthy regards caring for patients as the greatest privilege of his life, and he has cared for thousands of patients and trained hundreds of residents and medical students as a clinician educator. Please welcome Surgeon General Vivek H. Murthy.
Well, first, I want to thank Carly for that wonderful and warm introduction. Carly, you have been breaking barriers and setting examples for kids and adults throughout the country for several years now. And I just want to tell you how proud I am of you and of the extraordinary example that you're setting for people across this country. I was in fact thinking, as I watched that video, that I wish I had had a role model like you when I was a kid growing up and thinking about how to get into sports. So thank you for the example that you set. I also want to thank the council for the great work that it has been doing in not only seeking to advance physical activity and nutrition, but also in seeking to bring together new partners to make sure that this is a shared mission and one that grows in size and in momentum over the next few years. I appreciate all that you're doing there. And you know, when I was watching the video, it also reminded me of many, many afternoons that I spent as a kid in Miami growing up, throwing the football around in my own backyard. And you know, I actually had aspirations of becoming a professional tennis player, a professional football player. Never quite had the skills that Carly has, so you know, I didn't go quite so far in that department. But as a kid, I remember I was pretty shy. I wasn't very confident. It wasn't always so easy for me to make friends. But sports actually became a way that I gained more strength, that I gained more confidence, and that I met more people and made more friends. So the opportunity to be engaged in sports, to have a family that was supportive of sports, to have a school that gave me opportunities to be involved in sports, team sports and individual sports, was incredibly helpful for me and an important part of my development. And that's something I certainly would wish for and hope for all kids in this country. When I think about the great challenges that we're facing now as a country, these challenges are evident to many of you. You see it on the news, you see it in the newspaper, that we are faced with a crisis when it comes to obesity and chronic disease, including diabetes and heart disease. You read about the challenges we face with mental health in all corners of this country. You read about the challenges we still face with tobacco use and with drug abuse, and especially prescription drug abuse. These are big challenges. But a few weeks ago, I gave a speech at my ceremonial swearing in about how we can overcome these challenges. I talked about the importance of us building a community where every part of our community supports health, from the way we build our cities to what's taught in our schools, to certainly how we operate our hospitals and clinics, but to also how our employers create environments that support health in the workplace. I talked about the need for every individual, each and every person, to ask themselves the question, what can I do to improve the health and the strength of our nation? I think of this as the great American community. This is what we are trying to build. It's important to note that this is not the great American individual, because to really solve the challenges that we face when it comes to health, we do have to come together as a community and recognize that everybody has a stake in health, but we also have a responsibility to improve it. And I saw that very clearly when I was practicing medicine in Boston recently. And I would see patients in clinic earlier in my career and then in the hospital later in my career. And I would realize that so many of the factors that were driving their illness were not necessarily factors that I could control in the hospital or in the clinic. I remember one particular woman who came in to the hospital who was probably in her 30s. And she had been struggling with obesity for many years, and in fact had developed diabetes when she was very young, in fact when she was just a teenager. And when I saw her, pardon me, even the Surgeon General gets sick sometimes. But when I saw her, it was actually for a visit related to a skin infection that she had developed on her leg. I'm so sorry. This was not the first time that she had come in with a skin infection, but she in fact had multiple. What had changed though is in the beginning, when she first came in, the infections were treatable with just oral antibiotics. And then later, she ended up developing more resistant infections, and she needed to come into the hospital for intravenous antibiotics. Then those worked as well. But as time went on, she started developing more and more resistant strains. And by the time that I saw her in the hospital, she developed a strain that was so resistant and that she wasn't responding to the antibiotics she was getting, and it in fact spread to her bloodstream, and she nearly died after ending up in the intensive care unit. Now this was obviously incredibly traumatic for her and for her family. And when I saw her, after she had turned the corner and made it out of the intensive care unit, I remember visiting her daily and seeing the scars on her legs that were the result of multiple infections that she had had, infections that she was more prone to as a result of her diabetes. But I also, as I got to talking to her, realized that there were many scars which you couldn't see on the outside, but which were deeply buried inside. The scars from a lifetime of dealing with obesity, the scars from being in the hospital many, many times as a young person who wanted to be out there living a full life and was instead hampered by her disease and by these infections. And this took a great toll on her. And as I thought about what we could do to help her, I realized that we needed to do more than give her antibiotics and more medicines. And we also needed to act earlier than we had. We needed to have acted perhaps 10, 15, 20 years earlier in helping to create the kind of environment and community that would support a healthy life for this young woman. That's a challenge that millions and millions of Americans face all across America. And as we think about building the great American community, a place where everything supports health, where everyone from hospitals and clinics to schools and employers and faith-based groups and civic organizations have a role in improving health, it could not be with any more urgency that I feel that we need to take this task upon us. When I think about what we need to build, it's a community where every man, every woman, and every child has the opportunity to ride a bike, to take a walk, to play sports in safe places. It's a place where everyone has access to healthy and affordable foods. It's a place where our schools and our college campuses are models for healthy living. They give young people the foundation they need for a strong and healthy life. And this means not only being models for good nutrition and supporting physical activity and sports, but it also means being 100% tobacco-free. The great American community is also a place where we don't shove mental health and mental illness into the corner and behind the curtain, but rather we engage our faith communities and all leaders in our communities to bring mental illness out of the shadows and to treat it with the care and the compassion that it deserves. These are the tenets of the great American community that we can build together. And that's why, as Surgeon General, some of the initiatives that I will be working on will include working with employers to make sure that we are building a culture of activity in our workplaces. One of the things I started doing at my workplace before I joined this job was converting sitting meetings to walking meetings as a way to build more activity into our day. Well, it's important for us to try to carve out time to go to the gym or to be active outside of work. We all know that if we can make activity part of work, that we can make people not only healthier physically, but we can also improve mental well-being, mental function, and emotional well-being. So this is of importance not just to employers, but to everyone. In the Office of the Surgeon General, we'll also be working with our faith leaders to use the power of their pulpit to shine a light on mental illness and to bring it out of the shadows. We'll be working with college campuses to go from having 25% of campuses which are now tobacco-free to ultimately having 100% of campuses tobacco-free, which is what we need and what our young people deserve. And we will also be working with sports and entertainment leaders to create more role models for healthy living, which is what we need. As some of you know, we are, over the next few months, going to be coming out with a call to action from our office on walking and walkable communities. This is about making walking and activity a national priority, but it's also about putting a call out to various leaders in our community, from urban planners to businesses to our political leaders, to come together to figure out how we can build environments that support activity. As all of you know, if we really want to build a community that supports health, we have to not only change the structural elements that make healthy choices easier, but we also need to change our culture to make healthy choices more desirable. And that's why I'm particularly excited that so many of the members who are gathered here on our Fitness Council are engaged in this effort to bring nutrition and to bring sports and physical activity more into our cultural consciousness and into our cultural practice, because we need to change both structure and culture if we are going to create a healthier society. It's also why we need everybody to engage in this. This is not an effort that's going to be won by one individual or one group, but it's going to take a team. And while the challenges seem great as we look at the statistics on obesity, as we look at healthcare costs, we have made a great amount of progress. And I have always believed that the story of America is one where we see time and time again that when we come together around a common cause with shared hope and optimism, that there is no problem that we cannot solve. And that applies to this problem that we are facing with obesity and chronic disease as well. So I thank all of you for the great work that you are doing And I know that there's a lot of work to do ahead. And that's why we're going to be looking forward to working closely with all of you, not just on our call to action around walking and walkable communities, but on a host of other initiatives to advance the pillars of good health: nutrition, physical activity, emotional and mental well-being, and tobacco and drug-free living. And we will, in this effort, be seeking to engage all parts of our office, so not just the traditional elements of the Surgeon General's office that most people know, but also our Commission Corps officers, who were mentioned earlier today. Our Public Health Service Commission Corps officers represent 6,800 officers in 800 locations around the world who are dedicated to improving public health in their communities. These are officers who could have chosen a well-paying job outside in the private sector, but instead decided to dedicate their lives and their time to improving health because they knew how fundamental health was to the well-being of not just communities, but of our country overall. And as we seek to engage in the larger challenges that we have around health, our officers will be an important part of that solution. They'll be an important force that we marshal. I just came back a few days ago from Liberia, where I was helping to wrap up our mission in West Africa, a mission that was targeted at fighting the Ebola outbreak. And I'm happy to say that thanks to the courage of our Commission Corps officers and other leaders throughout the U.S. government, we have worked successfully with partners and with the Liberian government to get Liberia almost to a place where it is Ebola-free. But as I returned back on the plane with our officers from Liberia, and as we landed here in Dulles Airport, and I looked out over the American countryside, it struck me that we have also so many problems yet to solve here. But I knew that I was on that plane with many officers who are ready and eager to take on the challenge of addressing those health challenges. I knew that I was with a larger corps of officers who are eager to not just solve disease, but to create health and make America a stronger and healthier nation. And as I'm here today with all of you, I know that I am with friends and with partners who will work hand in hand with us as we seek to make America a healthier and stronger nation over the coming months and years. So I thank you again for your partnership, for all that you've done, for all that you're going to do. We will certainly be asking you to help out in some of the key initiatives that we have to change structure and culture and make our communities stronger. And I certainly look forward to hearing from you about how we can be helpful in our shared mission to create a healthier America. Thank you so much, everybody.
And Dr. Murthy, first of all, thank you very much for those words. And it's interesting to hear about the call to action that you're rolling out. And as Shelley knows, someone once asked me, and many of you may know I'm a retired general from the Army, and as I retired, I went into the healthcare profession, which I'm finding fascinating. And the connection between the two, and someone once asked me, why did you leave the Army and go into healthcare? And I said, because I didn't see enough combat in the military. But I think the connection between what you portray as the next fight in health is the prevention and the pre-acute care and all the things that contribute to the health of our nation before individuals go into hospitals. So thanks for your leadership on all of this, and thank you so much for also bringing up the capabilities and the service of those 6,800 medical corps officers that are serving the nation and the world. Thank you.
Thank you again, Surgeon General Murthy, and your presence means a lot, not only here today, but in this space, and really lifting up our mission. So we stand ready to support you, and thank you for you and your office's support of our collective mission. Thank you.